This video is on garage door hinges and my experience with garage door hinges. So if your garage door only opens a couple of feet, stops, press the button, goes down again, you've probably got a problem with garage door hinges. And I've laid out some chapter markers down below. And in summary, if you just want to watch like 30 seconds or 24 seconds now of this video, essentially a garage door hinge is on the side of your garage door. You take off the bad hinge, you look at the number on it, and you buy it on Amazon for $6. Done and dusted. There you have it. That's all we got. Now, you can piss off. But if you want to stick along for the show, here's what I'm going to be talking about. I'm going to start out with a diagram of a garage door, some of the components we're going to be looking at. I'm going to then go on about the torsion springs, how I had problems with my torsion springs, and then we'll get on to the main topic of the video, the hinges. We'll look at what the hinges are, how my hinges failed, and then we'll go into some more details of what the hinges are, dimensions, shite like that, and then we'll go into my realization that I did indeed order the wrong hinges and I have to rip off one of the hinges and take it back to Amazon. What a clever chap. And let's go. I'm going to start out with a little diagram here which shows you all the components of a garage door. And also, I want to say before this showing you the actual video that I did on it, just be careful because a garage door weighs, I don't know, my garage door's got to weigh a couple of 100 pounds. And especially with stuff like the rollers on the steel springs on the top, when you're working with those can be a little dodgy. And when I was working on it yesterday, if you have little kids and you're working on it, and I did not disconnect the opener and stuff, and your hands are in there, you could probably lose a little knob or two. So be aware of that. So here's all the components, and the ones we're going to look to today. It's going to be number 9 over here. I'll probably zoom in the image here. Called the torsion spring, and then number 12, which are your hinges, and that's all it is, just a hinge. And that was, in summary of my video, that was the problem I had, which kind of stumped me for, I don't know, probably, maybe even I was stumped for a year with that, of what it was. So there you have it. Enjoy my little video, and as usual, I'm not an expert. I tend to waffle a little bit, as you've probably heard, but hopefully you'll learn something. So here's my little video on the problems I've had with this garage door over a number of years. So regarding that diagram we had in the beginning, the first problem I had, it's a common problem. You try to open your garage door, nothing happens, there's not a sound, nothing, just nothing. And in my case, it was the torsion springs, which are at the top here, you can see there. And they're kind of these long, heavy, coiled up springs. And how a garage door works is actually, garage door is quite heavy, which you'll realize when you try and raise it without the springs. It weighs a couple of 100 pounds, and maybe in this case. And these springs basically are coiled up when the garage door is down, they're fully coiled up. And then when the motor kind of lifts it, it uses the energy in the coiled up springs, in the coiled up springs there, to lift the garage door. And that is how you can get away with having such a little puny little motor. I mean, that thing can't lift 200 pounds. It's probably lifting, I don't know, it's probably lifting a lot less than that. So that was the first issue I had in my garage door. That was a long time ago. And you can order these coils pretty inexpensively. Fitting them is a little tricky because I think you've got to, from what I remember, you have to put a rod in there and wind them up. So that was the first problem that I had. So getting into this new problem that I just solved, the symptom was the garage door basically only comes up to, I don't know, a foot or so off the ground and just stays there. So it doesn't lift, which is kind of weird. Like, why would it only come up a certain distance and then drop? Is it the motor doesn't have enough power? Maybe the springs don't have enough power. But then when you give it a bit of an assist, it goes all the way up. And so I inspected the springs, oiled the springs. Sometimes you need to oil them, I don't know. And the springs were fine, torsion springs. So then I was like, oh, I don't know. I just thought it was the motor maybe there was some play or whatever. And then I did notice the garage door was making kind of a popping and a clicking sound, which is it's kind of an old piece of crap garage door that needs to be replaced. But then I started to look at the hinges. So how the garage door works is it's one, two, three, four pieces of vertical long strips. It's a double garage, and it has these hinges. So obviously it folds up every time it comes over the curve over here. It kind of folds up, right? Because it has to fold up. So how it does that, it uses these hinges. On the front side, it's just a straight, if I can go in closer. This is really bad light. This is crappy videography. I apologize. This is just a straight little hinge. Has kind of a pressed piece of metal that it kind of rotates on. But on the side, you have obviously hinges that it's the same kind of thing, but it has a roller in it. And then you can see the new one I replaced. And there's different types of, I don't believe that's a hinge. That's just one thing. But these are hinged, little hinge kind of brackets with a place for a roller, and then on the top is actually where it kind of does its kind of rotation as a hinge. So the top piece over there essentially does this job. It just kind of flops over and rotates what a hinge does. So I noticed that some of these hinges on the sides, there's actually, I think most garage doors just have 3 of these particular type of hinges. I noticed they were basically broken. This guy here was disconnected from this. So essentially your garage door, even though the roller was in here, see, this is worn away. This like a bearing kind of thing that has metal on the outside to keep it attached to this other part. You can see in here it has like a flange on it. So this flange was totally worn away, and this thing was basically like this, so it wasn't even connected. And what it does is connecting a garage door. I don't know, this 200-pound piece is connecting it together on the side here. So obviously when this thing moves, even though it's going to go through with this little roller bearing, it's going to, I guess this design, can it still happen? Yeah, it could still happen. So essentially this comes apart and just causes problems with this going up. So in summary, you just need to replace this. $6 on Amazon. And for the longest time, I was stumped why my garage door would not open. And now I know.
So nothing is ever as simple as it seems. And the hinge that you need to buy is going to have a number stamped on it. That number basically determines where it goes on the garage door. And if you look at this diagram, which in my case was incorrect, you'll see the first hinge, not the very thing on the bottom that says red. The first hinge is number 1, second is number 2, number 3, I don't know, you can go up depending upon how many panels, how big your door is. Now in my case, I had a number 1, which is actually a number 2, and a number 4, a 3, which is actually a number 4, which is actually a number 3 listed in this, that went bad. I did not have this information when I bought them off Amazon. I just bought 2 number 2s, so I was 50% correct. Bottom line, take it off the bloody door, look at the number stamped on it. And if you want to go into the dimensions, here they are. And that dimension is the bottom of the hinge to the top of the second circle. And you'll see as you go up in number, you'll see that here's a little diagram from a manufacturer. You'll see there's number 1, number 2, number 3. Essentially that distance gets bigger. So you just need to grab it off the bloody garage door, see what number it is, and order the correct number. Simple as that. And literally as I'm making this video, I realized that I did indeed bugger up and order 2 number 2s, not a number 4 and a number 2. When I ordered the actual garage door hinges, I didn't even look at the number. I just assumed everything was a number 2. I did notice the difference in the height between the roller and the other thing. I was like, that's not quite right. So I will be sending a number 2 back and ordering a number 4. So the moral of the story is, do a little bloody research before you decide to bugger around with your garage door. And if you're interested, you can see on the screen now where this failed. And you can see the top one has like a little, I don't know what you call that. I called it a flange earlier on. I think it's a flange. I don't know. It has some metal sticking out and it just kind of wore off. Just did not exist. And of course the whole bracket comes apart and your garage door starts rattling around and you think it's the cold and the this and the that. In the meantime, it's just a stupid little $6 bracket.